Hello everyone, it's Charlton. Alright, this video is going to be so hard to do. And I'm just going to do my best. I was reading through Doug Poppa's article from the 22nd, just before Christmas, and I routinely go back and just check his stuff and see if he's got something new, and he did, and I missed it. But I was reading through it and thinking about it all day long today. Oh, by the way, that Fox video. I caught that video on video the other night. That Fox has been around our house. He's a big dude, and he's like totally unafraid. And I've seen him in broad daylight, literally go walking right past our bay window a couple times. One day out in the rain, I'm pulling out my truck. I mean, we're literally looking at each other face to face, and he's just about 10 feet from me. I'm in my truck pulling away, and I'm trying to get my camera and my phone to film him, and I couldn't. He's just walking right by me like it was nothing, totally unafraid. I was worried he's maybe rabbing. I was pulling up one night, and I saw something. I thought it was him, and I parked before I went inside to go in. I went to the end of the driveway, and he was still there. Crazy. And it's like, it's weird. You almost start to think it's not a fox, but it's still a fox. I think maybe that's kind of appropriate for this video. So, all right. I probably already wasted 3 minutes. This is going to take like an hour, I bet, this video. We'll see. So I read through this article, and it basically, I'm not exactly sure of the purpose of this, of Doug Poppa, why he published this article. Kind of puts an exclamation mark on, I think, his position, and basically he reiterates 100% that he believes it's Stephen Paddock in there by himself, and that's that, and the interrogation, the lock interrogation reports, and everything else, basically proves that to him. The only other thing that he mentions at the very end, I'll get to it later. But it made me think, there was another creator, dude. I just can't believe some of these things, man. Who brought up Doug Poppa. And at the time, I'm like, is he like being a smartass and like just shoving it right in Doug Poppa's face? And I think he was. I mean, this proved it to me. And I just, if you watch Vegas videos, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you have no idea. And I'm not getting into specifics, but I was just shocked at like, wow, he's really like just being an absolute smartass and just putting it right in his face, right in Doug Poppa's face, So, but I just figure that's worth noting, and that's probably going to come up throughout this video, because Doug Poppa goes on to talk about a Politico article. In the Politico article, which is extremely long, and was back in November, and it talks about a couple different dudes that have been sort of peddling this conspiracy theory, for some time, about, that it was this this conspiracy between Islamists and Antifa and Paddock, and that, to target pro-Trump people, pro-Trump supporters, and that's why the venue was chosen the way it was. That's why the country music festival, they're all Trump supporters. Okay, and it goes on to basically say that at some point they got the ear of a congressman, Scott Perry. Where is he? I already took him down. No, there he is. He's over here. And he was on Tucker, and that's what this is. He's telling you about the episode. And I remember this episode. And actually, you know what? I think I was wrong about when I was talking about the Safety Act. And I was wrong. I was right and wrong about one thing. I think maybe I'm right. I think I'm right about the fact that this has all been about the Safety Act. It's all about the Safety Act. Okay, and this became the moment that the last shot rang out. It became about the Safety Act, or sooner. Believe me. But I was wrong that I don't think I don't think it sweetens the pot for the victims. I don't. In fact, I think it probably even limits the amount of money that the victims could get, makes it less, or makes it more difficult for them to get settlements. But I don't know that. I'm not an attorney, but that's just my sense. Reading through some of the literature, and the language on the government websites and the PDFs that they have on the Safety Act, as well as some other websites that have it, that basically define it and all the parameters. Okay, so, but this article goes on to tell you about these individuals who were peddling these conspiracies, and eventually got to this congressman who went on Tucker. And you know what? That's why Catherine Lombardo, when this congressman, hopefully you're familiar with all this stuff because I'm skipping a lot, but when this congressman brought up that he was hearing that that some terrorists had infiltrated the country through the southern border and potentially might have been working with Paddock to do this, she shot back at him and she said that's irresponsible, and if you're going to say things like that, you should have the right information to back up a claim like that. And she wasn't happy about it, and the reason she wasn't happy about it is because of what I was just saying. I think because if that the Safety Act not only does it benefit the casino and the hotel and basically take all of the liability. I used to think it was just partial. After reading through the Safety Act, it takes almost all of it away from the hotel and puts it on the security provider for the venue. Okay, and they're protected through the Safety Act. Okay. But it takes it all away from them. But not only that, but it actually, I think, limits the amount that the victims can receive. So, I mean, basically, I started, and these individuals that are in this Politico piece, this dude here, Richard Higgins, who I know very little about, he was actually on Trump's National Security Council for a very short period of time. And he was asked to leave because he put out some crazy memo that everybody thought was outrageous, and he was quickly asked to leave because of it. And it was all about like the Islamists and the deep state and this other stuff, and it was just bizarre. And he was asked to leave, and that was before October for the October shooting, the Las Vegas shooting in 2017. But he's pro-Trump, And the other individual, this Brad Johnson, who's on the One American Network, who's talked about Vegas. He's a former CIA official. He's this dude. He's presumably is pro-Trump as well. So, but that's what got me. Why? And I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the chief executive of MGM. Is not pro-Trump. Okay. In fact, even though he literally publicly proclaimed before the election, all right, that he was supporting Hillary, even though he's a registered Republican. I mean, he actually, he was, taking what he thought was a principled stand against Trump. Okay. Even though he's a registered Republican, he was publicly supporting the Democratic nominee for the president, Hillary Clinton. So it just begs to reason, why would these individuals that are in this Politico piece that are pro-Trump, all right? One of them was on the National Security Council of Trump for a very short period of time, Richard Higgins and Brad Johnson, pro-Trump individuals. Why would they be peddling a conspiracy theory that, if it were true, would be great for the company, because it takes all the then it really would be terrorism, and it would basically take all the legal liability, not most, all of it, away from the hotel casino, who's run by somebody who's publicly proclaimed he's against Trump, and it would actually, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not absolutely sure of this, but I think it is, would actually not hurt, but limit the amount that the victims, who are all pro-Trump people, pro-Trump supporters, will get. I mean, it's like the worst of all possible scenarios if you like Trump, and especially they're pro-Trump people. And by the way, by the way, I can think of a creator who fits a very similar profile to that. Okay, who basically, from time to time says he's pro-Trump and all this stuff, and I'm pro-Trump. Okay, and that's why I don't call this terrorism, because calling this but but there's one other creator who's doing exactly the same thing, who says he's pro-Trump from time to time, but he's supporting an idea that would actually benefit somebody who doesn't like Trump, the executive of the hotel casino, the chief executive, and would hurt the people who are huge Trump supporters, and people who are killed too, by the way. And I'm not being cynical, but that's a fact. So I think I had that wrong before, that when I was saying that the safety acts would actually sweeten the pot for the victims. I don't think it does. I think it makes it more difficult for the victims to get paid, and we'll probably take it. We'll take more difficult litigation for it to get done. Maybe this video is not quite as hard as I thought. I hope that all made sense. If you follow Vegas, if you follow me, you know what I'm saying. And I don't know why. I don't know if this is what Doug Poppa is saying in this. But I will say, just to get to the point, I'll make a couple of points. He unequivocally says, it was Paddock. He does make one little statement at the end that maybe somebody else had foreknowledge of this. I don't even want to speculate who that might be. I have an idea who he may be suggesting. And it's just somebody who may have known ahead of time and maybe just didn't think he would ever go through with it or something. Who knows? I don't know. But I don't think he's suggesting conspiracy or anything like that. Where is it? Okay. Right, here he is. So, because the theory being put forth by these two, Richard Higgins and Brad Johnson and others, and they're like, Richard Higgins is a fellow over at the Unconstrained Analytics, which is like a little tiny miniature think tank, in Washington. I guess he lives in Washington. So does Brad Johnson. He lives in northern New Jersey. They're in Washington. I don't think they're registered lobbyists, but there are. Somebody is. Somebody's a registered lobbyist. I'd bet my bottom dollar that somebody has lobbied on this issue, to some, it just has to be. I don't know that for a fact, but that would just be my guess. So, but the theory they were peddling, the documents authored by Higgins and Johnson argues that Paddock was likely killed by another collaborator in the room with him because it was an operation gone bad. Again, making it terrorism. Again, making it great for the hotel, because basically absolving them of almost all legal liability goes away once it becomes terrorism. Before I move on to Doug Poppa and what he said, let me try to read to you basically where it says, it says right here on the DHS website how it works. The Safety Act provides. I don't like having my face down there. DHS caps a seller's insurance liability in the event of an act of terrorism, among several other legal protections. In addition to the designation benefits, the seller can assert the Government Contractor Defense for any claims arising from acts of terrorism. Those are two very kind of brief statements. Basically, that's saying two things. It limits the amount of the seller's liability. Okay, the seller's liability is not the hotel casino. It's the security provider of the venue. And I'm telling you right now, I'm just take my word for it that somewhere in the Safety Act it says if it's an act of terrorism, it has to be an act of terrorism, then basically any other parties that are customers of the system, like the hotel casino, they're the customer of it. They're the one who purchased this service from the security provider. They're absolved of any liability. But this caps the liability of the seller of the system. That's why. It was supposedly the logic was so that people develop systems and technologies to combat terrorism. This was supposed to incentivize them to do that so that they couldn't be sued for it. But it also, at the same time, took anybody off the hook who used those services. Okay, but in addition to that, it says in addition to the designation benefits, the seller can assert the government contractor defense for any claims arising from acts of terrorism. So basically, any claims would go to the government contractor defense fund or whatever. I mean, basically, I looked that up. It's more or less like when somebody has a lawsuit against a military manufacturer. Okay, something like that. And again, my I don't know this for a fact, but my opinion is that that actually limits the makes it more difficult for the victims to litigate it, and limits how much they'll receive. Those two things right there. And you can read, read other literature that basically, perhaps the greatest benefit of the designation or certification, however, is, and this is talking about the Safety Act, however, is that the act itself provides that the only proper party defendant to a lawsuit arising out of an act of terrorism is the seller. Okay? So again, is that the act itself provides that the only proper party defendant to a lawsuit arising out of an act of terrorism is the seller of the system, the seller of the technology that's being used, for instance, like in a venue, to protect the people that are there, right? So it continues thus: customers, clients, subcontractors, and vendors that either consume the technology or support the seller in the deployment of the technology are immune from liability. That means anyone who hired the technology, like the casino, like the hotel casino, who hires a third party to do the security for their venue, they're immune. Believe me, I got that right. So, back to Poppa. And again, I'll say this for the third time. Why would people who are pro-Trump, okay, be peddling theories? And this is on YouTube too, okay? There's at least one, two, several. Most people don't even understand. I'm learning it right now. Most people are like me, and they have no idea of this. Okay, they have no idea that when they're basically coming up with these theories that make it into terrorism, they're actually doing the hotel a huge favor. Okay, and they're doing a disservice to the truth and to the victims too, man. Okay, but there's some. These dudes live in Washington. I don't know why they're doing it, And I don't know why there's certain people on YouTube that are doing the exact same thing, saying they're pro-Trump, but they're doing pretty much the antithesis of anything anybody who was pro-Trump would do. Because of what they're presenting, again, benefits somebody who proclaimed he's against Trump and hurts people who loved Trump supporters, who are all people at that concert. Okay? So, but back to Doug Poppa, mangling my words a little bit, but hopefully you understand me, man. I'm not pussyfooting around no more. I'm not, and that's just that, dude. Okay, so Doug Poppa is here in several of 125 plus articles that I have authored for the Baltimore Post-Examiner on the Las Vegas Massacre. I have laid out what I believe to be a convincing conclusion based on lock interrogation reports, crime scene photographs, LVM, Las Vegas Metro Police Department, police officer body-worn camera video, that Paddock was alone in rooms 132-134 and 32-135, and the MGM Resorts International, owned Mandalay Bay, during and after the gunfire, that nobody left either room during that time. And he goes on to say that there's just no way, unless the only way somebody could have gotten out of that room was literally gone out the window, And there's no way those interrogation lock reports are falsified. There's just no way. And I'll tell you why, okay? And believe me, I've considered it, you know, because like I don't want to get into why I've considered it, but there's no way those are falsified. Anything that would be falsified, because that's so easy to prove, all right? And that is like criminal behavior, okay? That's not civil, that's criminal. So there's just no way that somebody would put out a false interrogation lock report, a document, that is so provable that it could be false. They'd be committing a criminal act, and it'd be criminal suicide. Okay, if anything that was done, that was improper, believe me, it would be in what they say or things like that. Nothing that would be a handwritten or produced written document or report. No way. It's not false. So. But it just cracked me up how he's Poppa is saying there, that he thinks it's Paddock by himself, and I agree. Okay, and I said in my previous video or the one before that I could be convinced that maybe he wasn't alone, and I probably shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't placate, even though at the time, I was just what I was thinking, but I shouldn't, because it would take almost an act of God to convince me that it was anything but him in that room, okay? And I've been pretty steady in that, I don't need to explain myself at all. No way. So, and this, what I'm presenting to you right now, makes that more clear to me than anything else. Like I said, dude, I'm not pussyfooting around anymore. I don't need to go into like designation, certification. It doesn't matter. And I'm not an attorney anyway, so I think I just told you everything I wanted to. I really did. Oh, I know Poppa made one. He goes on to say, it cracked me up when this dude was talking about Poppa, man. And he was saying, he's with us, he's with us, or, there is no us, okay? There is no us. There's me, there's you, and you, and you, and you. Believe me, there's just individuals. There's no us, dude. If you want there to be us, you can, but believe me, when there's an us, somebody wants to be in charge of an us, okay? There's no us. I'm just me. I'm just Charlton, all right? And I'm trying to make my channel grow, but I'm also trying to do my best to get to the truth. That's how I'm going to make my channel grow, is by getting to the truth, not by bullshitting you. So, but he goes on, Doug Poppa, say, I've heard it all, and it's most of it's absurd, But so when the dude was saying he was with us, he was giving Poppa the middle finger, big time. He was just putting it right in his face, almost. It's pretty funny actually. It really was. I kind of respect the set that takes to do that. It was kind of humorous. And I like Doug Poppa a lot. I'm just saying, he was just sticking it right to him, for sure. But he goes on to say, I've heard it all. ISIS terrorists, Israeli Mossad, Saudi Houthis mercenaries, helicopter gunships, rooftop extractions, etc., etc. The fringe element came out of the woodwork, forgetting all about the families who lost loved ones, the over 400 who were wounded by Paddock's gunfire, and other survivors, all who will be carrying their emotional and physical scars for them forever. And actually, that statement, that had an impact on me, and it made me think about when I do my videos and I make maybe an intro and I'm being, not being as serious, but I can't get around that. I just to make videos and to be mildly entertaining at the same time that I'm presenting something. But I understand where he's coming from. I do. But he went on to say, he says nobody exited either one of those rooms unless they flew out one of the broken windows. With that, this is the one little thing he left open. Like I said, I already mentioned it, but he says, With that, I'm still not convinced that nobody else had knowledge of the attack before it was executed. Doesn't explain anything of that. I mean, I have my own ideas with what he means by that, but my guess would be that would be somebody who just knew ahead of time. Maybe just never thought it would actually happen. Never thought he would go through it with it. Maybe, I don't know. Well, that's the end of this video, and been messy, but it is what it is. Alright, well, thanks for watching my videos. I really do appreciate it. Please subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. And I will see you in the next video. Later, man.